Again, everyone, so this is Earth and Life Science. We will continue on our lesson 2, 3, and 4. So we have rocks and its classification. Lesson 2, igneous rock, rocks formed by fire. And lesson 3, sedimentary rocks and rocks under stress. Lastly, we will discuss lesson 4, metamorphic rocks and the changes they undergo. So this will be our learning outcomes for today. Number 1, classify and describe the 3 basic rock types. Number 2, establish relationship between rock types and the origin and environment. So what are the 3 basic rock types? So we knew already from our junior high school that there are 3 types of rocks rather. We have the igneous rock, sedimentary rock, and metamorphic rocks. So to begin with, let's start with what is igneous rocks. Number 1, when we say igneous rocks, these are rocks that form from the solidification of molten rock material. So this is a byproduct of volcanic eruption. Number 2, these are also a molten rock material that can solidify below the surface of the earth, which is known as plutonic igneous rocks, or maybe at the surface of the earth, which is known as the volcanic igneous rock. So remember, if it's at the surface of the earth, it is plutonic. And when it is at the surface of the earth, it is volcanic igneous rock. So these are also known as minerals formed during crystallization of the magma. So let us discuss what's the difference between a magma and a lava. Since we're discussing igneous rocks, which is the byproduct of volcanic eruption. So when we say magma, this is the byproduct of volcanic eruptions below the surface of the earth. While lava, it is the byproduct of volcanic eruption at the surface of the earth. So meaning, when we say lava, it is formed outside of the volcano chambers, or it is already at the surface of the earth. When we say magma, it is formed below the surface of the earth or inside the magma or within the vicinity of the volcano chambers. Okay, so that's why we have magma eruption and lava flow. So when we say lava, it is flowing on the surface of the earth. Let's begin with the 2 types of igneous rocks. We have the intrusive versus the extrusive rocks. So remember when we say intrusive, these are types of igneous rocks that form on the magma. So when we say magma, it is below the surface of the earth. It is formed through slow cooling or slow crystallization and has phaneretic texture, or what we call as coarse, coarse texture or magaspang. When we say extrusive rocks, this type of rock is formed through the byproduct or lava. And they are formed through the fast rate of cooling and fast crystallization. The type or the texture of the rock is aphanitic, porphyritic, or vesicular. This type of rock is finer, finer texture. Remember, extrusive igneous rocks cool quickly and the result of a fine grain or lack of crystal growth. When we say intrusive, these are types of igneous rocks formed at the magma and more likely to at cool at the inside or on the area of the magma chamber, which causes to have a coarse grain, while extrusive rocks are formed outside or at the surface of the earth that makes it finer and no crystal growth at all. So classification of igneous rocks textures, size, and arrangement of crystal types. So we have here the fine grain due to the fast rate of cooling, while coarse grain due to the slow rate of cooling. We have the porphyritic, two crystal size, and because of the two rates of cooling. We have the letter D, the glassy or the very fast rate of cooling. You would observe from the letter D, it has a very glassy appearance, while on letter A, it has finer, pino, ang kanyang texture. While on letter B, you would observe it has a coarse grain, magaspang, marami siyang bilog-bilog, due to the slow rate of cooling. So on sedimentary rocks, these are rocks formed from previously existing rocks, or what we call as sediments. So these are undergoing on the process of lithification formed by compaction and sedimentation of sediments. So these are rocks that can be found on the river. Okay? So these are sediments. They are formed through individual mineral grains here. So this would be the process of compaction and cementation. Individual mineral grains, we have the pore space after deposition. These sediments can be found on the river, deposited at the bottom of the river or the water or seawater. And then afterwards, due to the pressure or overburden, they undergo compaction and they are cemented together and form into a sedimentary rocks. So ground carrying dissolved ions, they are now cemented all over or cemented into a one form of rock which is called sedimentary rocks. So formation of sedimentary rocks happen on this condition. Exposure to air, just like what we have discussed a while ago, exposure to water, exposure to sun, and weathering, erosion, and deposition. Next, we have the metamorphic rock. So it is a rock that forms from transformation of pre-existing rock. The pre-existing rocks might be igneous, sedimentary rocks, or metamorphic through the process of metamorphism. So when we say meta, it is a new form of a rock. So metamorphism can involve changes in physical and chemical properties in response to heat, pressure, and chemically active fluids. So remember, when we have metamorphic rock, its previous rock would be either igneous, sedimentary, or metamorphic itself. So we have two types of metamorphic rock. We have the contact metamorphism. When we say contact metamorphism, it occurs when pre-existing rocks get in contact with a heat source. The heat source can be a magma or the magma chamber. So once it was contact on a magma chamber, if this is the magma, this is let's say this is an igneous rock, it is called as contact metamorphism. So it occurs in a relatively small scale It's it is formed around the vicinity of intruding magma and creates a non-foliated metamorphic rocks. Example, we have the hornfels. So, example, let's put it this way. A surrounding rock, which is an igneous rock, has been or has contact with a magma. So once it was heated, it was now morphed. It was been changed into another form, which is now called as metamorphic rock. We have also regional metamorphism. So when we say regional metamorphism, it occurs in areas that have undergone deformation during geologic process. Or when we say orogenic, these are geologic events. What are those? It might be tsunamis, earthquake, and movement of the plates, which result in mountain belts. It occurs in the regional or larger scale. So upon regional metamorphism, it creates foliated metamorphic rocks such as schist and gneiss. Here, the difference between a foliated and non-foliated rock. Foliated rocks have visible layers of elongated grains of minerals. You would observe lines, and also it's because of exposed into heat, stress, and pressure. That's why it would more likely to form parallel lines. Parallel lines are due to the heat and stress it was introduced to. While we have non-foliated metamorphic rock, they do not have any distinct or visible layers of lines, layers, or bands. So that is the difference between foliated and non-foliated.